Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of 2 Feet Deep. We want to thank Silverman Sound for producing all of the royalty-free music that you hear in today's episode. If you're interested in experiencing some royalty-free music for yourself, head on over to silvermansound.com. We hope you enjoy today's episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to 2 Feet Deep, another episode for you wonderful listeners out there. I'm Derek Markgraf. I am not the host today. Eddie is our host today, so say hello, Eddie.
Hi, yeah. So Derek is introducing the show because he gave me 55 tries, and after that,
After that, I said, I tell you what, I'll introduce the show today, Eddie.
anyway, give me the keys. I'll drive home.
Oh man, well, I'm excited to be here with you today. Tell me what we got going today. We jump into our entertainment exegesis.
Entertainment exegesis! Yay! Absolutely, you read my mind. So today we are talking about JJ McCullough. He's a YouTuber, and if you watch him, he's Canadian, and he's going to say a boot instead of about, and a lot of fun things like that. But he is really a neat guy, and he did a 3-video series on your city not being unique. Now, we've only previewed one of these for this podcast, and we'll have the link. But he basically talks about things that if you grow up in a city, you grow up in one particular part of the country, you probably think, oh man, this is what makes my city special. This is what makes my city unique. And he talks about the fact that probably the things you're thinking about are done all over the place. So I'm interested in your opinion of the video because you and I grew up in the same city. We grew up in Paducah, Kentucky, which had a number of these things, and we thought they were unique to us. So,
Well, you know what's interesting to me? Okay, so I watched the video. For those of you all that don't know, these shows are planned way out in advance. So, I mean, this particular notes on this show have been sitting in our collective file for probably a month, maybe. And when I first watched the video, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't really have any recall to Paducah, but as I drove around between the current little towns that I live in, I noticed these signs of lawyers and doctors and stuff that were using these same ideas. And I was like, that is hilarious. I think I have a lawyer near my town talking about how they're using the karate angle and they're going to kick the competition, and or maybe that was a car lot one. I don't remember, but I do remember seeing a couple of signs immediately after I watched it, and I thought, wow, those really are everywhere. Because if they made it to my tiny town, I live in a town of 2,000 people, so if they made it to my tiny town, they really are everywhere.
and so what Derek is referring to is that there are a number of businesses, or necessary kinds of businesses, but they're not really that exciting. We're talking about things like car salesmen, furniture stores, lawyers. They're necessary institutions, right? You've got to have those, but they're not very exciting. And there are a handful of companies around the country that write goofy, crazy, silly ad campaigns that those businesses can buy to help draw attention to themselves when otherwise you would not even think about looking at an ad for a lawyer or a furniture store unless you just happen to be, in the situation to need one. You would not be. And truthfully, if they were to just advertise in a normal way, they would be so boring.
Yeah, well, and it cracks me up because like all of those, especially like the lawyer one, that one cracks me up because you're going to find a lawyer when you need one. But if you don't need one, why do you need to be advertised one? That I don't know. That just always cracks me up. And you do
Well,
see that the lawyers use these ads.
Well, I think about how would you shop for a lawyer though if you knew nothing about them? Would you pick them out by their tie or by the outfit they were wearing? Would you, if they had a serious scholarly look, would that be? I mean, how would you pick one out? The average person doesn't know enough about a lawyer to really pick one out. So, of course, what's going to make one stand aside if they're doing a karate kick and assaulting a fictional bad guy, right?
Well, like you and I, we've lived in two towns together, and Paducah was much bigger than the second town we lived in. The second town we lived in was roughly 8,000 people, so still not a big town. And in that case, you kind of know all the lawyers in your town.
That's
When you
right.
have a town of 8,000 people, not everybody's a lawyer. There's not very many, all five or six of them.
That's right.
And
All three dentists. You know you pretty well know who all those professionals are.
Right, right. But you're right. In a large city, I would imagine that would be a much tougher decision to make because you certainly wouldn't know. And then there's, of course, everybody has those preconceived notions of, well, this lawyer's not going to be good, or this one's a sleaze, or this one's, and how would you distinguish? Because, unfortunately, there probably are some of them that are not great. So
Yeah,
I see your point.
yeah. So you want the one who promises to be the hammer. The
That's
hammer should.
right. Hammer. Oh man.
Would you break that down? What does that even mean? I mean,
I don't no idea. No clue. No clue.
are they going to build your deck after they do your court case, or are they going?
Hey, we do actually know. We do have a common friend that's a minister and a construction guy, Jamie. So I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, right.
yes.
Hey,
So
so
maybe.
or are they going to do something that is actually illegal and use a hammer to assault somebody?
Yeah, if they can't win the case in court, they'll take care of it for you out of court. that's that's who I want to hire. We get the job done no matter what.
So some of the other things that J.J. McCullough mentions: proximity to nature. Listen, we have the best of both worlds. We live in a city that's actually buy stuff in nature,
Which
so you
is
can.
like probably more than half the cities in the country.
I think it's probably more than 99% of. I mean,
Probably, yeah.
what would it maybe if you live literally absolutely in the middle of Detroit, maybe
Right.
maybe maybe then you have no proximity to nature and you don't have a car or
Yeah,
legs.
right. Oh me, that's funny. Yeah. What
I
were
mean,
some other ones on there?
Even Chicago, you're really only at any one point probably 25 minutes from something spectacular like Lake Michigan.
Right, yeah. Well, I was thinking about New York and how everybody pictures New York as New York City. But man, if you just go right outside the city, or even in the city, Central Park is really beautiful. But even if you go just right outside the city, you're not anywhere near major city. You are all of a sudden near nature. I mean, and that's true of every. It doesn't matter what city you go to. And that's funny because like I traveled a lot growing up because my dad had conventions that he would go to as a part of his business, and so we would whenever dad had to go on those, that was going to be our summer vacation because he was going to have to go. So might as well just pile the car, the family in the car, and mom and the kids would, we'd hang out at whatever, the swimming pool or whatever while dad was going to his meetings. And then, okay, whatever the case may be, whatever town or city we were going to, but we always drove. We never flew anywhere. And driving, as soon as you leave a city, boom, you're out in the nature. You're in the middle of nowhere on an interstate that was built by man through, guess what? Guess what it was built through? Nature.
Nature.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And it's true. It doesn't matter where you go. you know, as soon as you leave that city, you're right out in the nature.
That's right. Or it's by a waterway. Again, almost every big town in America is by a waterway. In fact, there's a pretty good explanation for why that is. Waterways are where most of the commerce takes place. It's where you send supplies down rivers and across lakes, and so at least in North America, I do think there probably are parts of the world where this is not true. But in North America, if you're in a even medium sized town, you're probably near a major body of water.
Yep, in some way, some fashion. Yeah. Well, and that
It's an
goes back
ocean
to
lake.
yeah, that goes back to you know, forever we've used the rivers to transport goods. I mean, even the town we grew up in, Paducah, which is, I mean, if Paducah, the city itself, is what 30 something thousand, but if you include the counties, then you're pushing 60,000. And the reason Paducah exists is because it sits right there on the Ohio River. You
Yep.
know, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely wouldn't exist if it did not sit on that river. Just wouldn't. So, yeah, come take a look at our beautiful river. And I love it. I'm not knocking these things in and of themselves. When I lived and worked in Paducah, I loved to drive over and sit and look at the river. It just doesn't make Paducah unique. It makes
right,
Paducah pretty normal, like pretty much all the
pretty
other major.
average.
Yep. So what was another one? Even if it wasn't on the video, was there another one that jumped in your mind of things that towns think make them unique, but really doesn't?
Probably come visit our downtown. Come visit our old, unique, or old restored downtown. And that one definitely sits home with us in Paducah because in the 90s, there was this big push of the restoration of Paducah downtown. And come visit our unique downtown. And it seems like I've seen that a lot of towns and cities have come visit our old downtown. You know, our shops are special because we have the old costume shop or the old bookstore, or and I'm like, yeah, yeah, they all do.
Exactly. And again, we're not knocking it. What Paducah did to restore their downtown, it is terrifically nice. It's
It
just
is.
it's super nice. It has restaurants. Guess what? Those are in other towns too. It has unique restaurants. It has an art district. It has a comic book store. And all of those also exist in just about every other town too.
Right, right. The one thing I wish they would have restored would have been the old theater.
Oh
I
boy, yeah,
always
that would have been.
always loved, you know, that was a neat trip as a kid to go to that theater. And then I don't think I've ever had any reason to step back in the building. I don't know if even if you can anymore
Yeah,
since
I
they
don't think you
closed it
can.
down. I mean, I know it's changed hands a few times, and I have
Yeah,
no idea what it is.
the economy of scale on a cinema. You think about how hard it is for cinemas, just normal cinemas, to stay in existence. I mean, with they're competing against all the streaming services, even new movies. They go to the movie theater for what 2 weeks, and you can find them online. 2 weeks into them being at the theater, I mean, so the thought of taking a beautiful old historic theater and spending the tens of millions of dollars it probably take to renovate that, I mean, you would just never recoup that.
Right? Yeah. No, it almost have to be a city project.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, as it is, the theaters, the normal theaters, the only way they're even making money is if they get you to buy 3 tubs of popcorn and M&Ms.
No, yeah. Well, and that, people, that's one of the things I didn't realize that until I had a friend that ran the theater in Paducah. And, because my father also ran an entertainment business, and our concession prices were half the price of what they were at the theaters. And and we would talk about those kind of things. And he was like, "Yeah," he said, "you make no money on the gate. You make zero money on the gate at a theater. Every bit of the profit comes from the snack bar, and that's
Yep.
why the prices are so high, because the
Yep.
gates got to go out to pay to have the movie."
Yeah. So how many hot dogs do you have to sell before you've broken a profit? I mean, whoo, baby,
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've done this one enough. We will put the link in the show description, but it is really worth watching. JJ McCullough is not making fun of towns. He's not making fun of these things. He's just pointing out that quite a lot that towns do to make themselves nice. The towns all over the country have done it as well, and that's okay. You can still enjoy them, still appreciate them for what they are. Just know your town is not unique. Okay,
So
with
the
that,
question is, oh,
yeah.
well, I mean, I was just going to say to kind of tie it into the Bible. Um, do you think that we share the same experience within our churches?
Oh boy.
Do you
Oh
think
my.
we do something similar when we advertise, come to our church, when we put out stuff on the internet or stuff on our Facebook pages? Are we, as you sat here and we went through this, I was like, man, this is kind of funny because we're laughing at none of these cities are unique. But aren't we trying to do the same thing in our churches when we present
Oh
an option to come to us?
yes. I mean, we're a friendly church. We've got the most interesting pastor. He preaches the best sermons. He preaches a little too long. He's cool. He's dopey. He's
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Absolutely. Yeah, our music is the best.
yeah. Our music's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
Our
we
people.
don't mess with that contemporary. We're tradition, or we don't mess with tradition. We're contemporary. Come see us.
Man, you should go to our potlucks. If there's one thing fill in the blank church likes to do, it's eat.
Yeah, if there's one thing that this church is good at, they're good at making food. Come join us.
And
Uh, it's
again,
funny
we're
when
not.
we turn it around and point it back at ourselves, and you're like, we do these same things. But what else are you supposed to do? I mean, this is what we've become, I guess, accustomed to in our culture of how we learn about a product.
Well, think about the common stories that kind of float around church. Every church I've been in has had the two women who fight over the thermostat. The hardworking,
The kitchen Nazi. we
right?
don't.
The
We
hard.
promise we don't have a kitchen Nazi.
That's right. The hardworking guy who falls asleep in every sermon. The guy who sings off key but sings anyway. The preacher who
Oh, that's funny.
always forgets to serve communion.
That's right. One time I was filling in for a church, and I totally skipped over the collection collecting the offering. And if there's one thing a church doesn't want you to do, it's to forget to take up the very thing that helps the church exist.
We can't pay
Yeah.
our.
Yeah, we can't pay our bills because you didn't take up the offering. Yeah, that was a big
you know,
whoops. I've only ever done that once, I promise you.
so maybe a good biblical way of kind of thinking about this topic as a whole is, who are we and what makes us unique. I think there are two extremes that have floated around our culture. And we're kind of in one right now where everybody wants to be so unique. They want to be so different from everybody else that we're actually in a very weird place. I won't go down all the trails, but we're in a weird place right now where everybody in our culture wants to be absolutely unique, which means the only way to really achieve that is you've got to go pretty bizarre. Or you've got to go pretty bland because everybody else is trying to stand out.
Right, right. Yeah.
But what happens if you find out that you're actually not all that unique? Does that mean that you're not of worth, that you're not of value, that your life doesn't count for anything? And it's interesting how every age has its rebellion, right? In my high school years, there were probably three that kind of were in succession to each other. You had the punk rock kids, who would eventually also then become the heavy metal kids. You sort of had the hippie goth kids, and you had the skateboarder kids. But what was interesting about all of them is that the groups that were trying really, really, really hard not to be like anybody else were all exactly like each other, and you probably could go to any other town in America and find a group just like them, right? So
Mm.
they and but I think what all of us badly want is to believe that our lives count, that they count for something, right? That we're not just here today and gone tomorrow,
Who doesn't want to feel special?
right?
And that's really what it
And
boils down to. If there's something unique about me, that makes me special. And what we really have to realize is that we're special because we're created in the image of God,
that's
regardless
right.
of how much alike or how different we are from someone else, that our worth actually comes from the creator who gave it to us, not by anything
Yep.
that we can do on our own.
And the one who sees the secret heart, 2 Corinthians says that deep calls out to deep, that the Holy Spirit knows us deeply on the inside, and that's where the depth of who we really are. I mean, there is no costume, there is no hobby, there is no color of hair that's going to make us absolutely unique in this universe. It's that DNA imprint, or that spiritual DNA imprint on the heart, that the Holy Spirit knows, that where we deeply live truly in our secret self, uh, and we're known by the God who created us. And I think if we recognize that, then we can be playful about what people see on the outside. I mean, so if you're a skater kid, or if you're just an ordinary guy, right? God knows your secret heart, and Revelation, Jesus says He'll give you a name that only He knows. That He knows you uniquely in a way that no one else can. So.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good, man. Take us into what the what?
What the what? Okay, what the what? Okay. Oh boy, yeah. Okay, so this is where we answer a question about the Bible, or a Bible verse that may be troubling. And so this is Proverbs 16:4. The Lord has made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of destruction.
Interesting. I think that we've actually even used this verse somewhere, and I don't know. It could have even popped up in one of the silly places like the His Name News game or something, where we're not being super serious. But I do remember us reading this Bible verse on here for something. But that's that's an interesting verse because it. I guess what we're assuming seems problematic for most is that the Lord would have made wicked for the intention of being destroyed.
Yeah,
Is the way
yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds when you read it.
Yeah, it sure does sound like that, or at least could be read that way, right? And it really, it dovetails on larger questions about purpose, about predestination, about what God's intent is, and so forth. What I really think is key to unlocking this verse is that um, God i- God brings purpose and order out of everything. So one of my favorite passages in Lord of the Rings is Frodo saying that, telling Gandalf that he wishes they had killed the Spiegel, that they when they had the chance, that they Gollum, that they would have killed him, and
Okay, stop a second because I'm not a Lord of the Rings person. So, in order for this to make sense for people who aren't a Lord of the Rings people like
yeah,
myself, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. Let me find the passage real quick. Give me 1 second.
Okay, I mean, obviously, I know this is a book and a movie, so you're trying to
Yeah.
look it up in the book, and you're
Yeah.
just going to
Yeah.
read us a
Yeah.
portion
So
of the
I'll
book.
just. Okay. So some of you are Lord of the Ring fans. We took a brief commercial break to find out that Derek is not a Lord of the Rings fan. So that's not your thing.
No, well, I mean, like, here's the thing. One, I'm not, I'm not a huge reader.
Oh yeah.
I don't mind reading, but to read a whole book that's as big as the Lord of the Rings series, I'm never going to get through it.
What about the movie?
So my brother and I went and saw the very first movie together, which I guess was Lord of the Rings. It should have been called Lord of the Rings: The Worst 3 Hours of Your Life, because that's what it turned out to be. It was like 3 hours of somebody going down a river, and I was like, I don't need 3 hours to watch people go down a river. Just show them on the boat for 5 seconds, and then I know they went down the river. And that whole movie was like all about them traveling from one place to the next, and it was seriously, it was like Chris. I mean, my brother's name's Chris. We both walked out of that movie, and we were like, wow, that's 3 hours we can never get back ever. And we were both really excited about it. I mean, that's why we went to the movie together to see it. It was something we thought we were really going to enjoy. And I don't know what kind of impression I thought I was getting from, you know, from the trailers that I had obviously seen that made me want to go see it. But I walked out and I was like, wow, that was, I could have walked out an hour into the movie and I feel like I wouldn't have missed anything. I've heard my brother-in-law, on the other hand, he loves the movies, and he did say that the first one is the worst of the three. Then he said they progressively get better and better, but he loved them all, And what's funny is I'm a fantasy guy. I like fantasy stuff. We've talked about the Chronicles of Narnia on here before, but you know what? Chronicle of Narnia, those books are 100 pages long. I don't have a problem. I can get through those. so.
uh, well, I'm gonna tell you that I don't think your brother. You said it's your brother who your brother-in-law who said they get better.
Yeah, my brother-in-law said that
Yeah.
they get better as they
All
go.
right. All
Uh,
right. I'm a huge fan, but my honestly, my opinion is if you hated the first one, you're really gonna hate the next two. It's
oh
more of
yeah,
what. Uh, I love the Lord of the Rings, but I jokingly call it elves walking. So that.
well then I wasn't too far off in my description.
No,
Oh me, that's
no, it is
hilarious.
it is an intentionally slow moving story. It is a hero's
Well,
journey.
he nailed it then.
Yeah, and it is like the Odyssey, another probably the most famous journey saga that's ever been written, and Lord of the Rings has that feel, that sort of same idea. It's supposed to make you feel like you're on a long journey, and if you were the kid that was like, "How much longer till we get there? How much longer till we get there?" This is not the series for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, growing up, and I mentioned earlier that we traveled a lot, and I can remember we drove from Kentucky to California one year, and being in the experience of the journey is still different than watching someone else go through the journey, and maybe reading the books because books have a way of being able to draw you into uh, the actual picture that they paint for you more so than a movie does. I do believe that. But
All right. I gotta take a
I just
detour. I gotta take a detour here. So have you do you know what the phenomenon is slow TV on YouTube?
no, never heard of that in my life.
Oh my gosh. So slow TV, this is for you, Derek. So it
Sounds like
is
it.
it's exactly what it sounds like. So it is TV shows about things like a train. And for 8 hours you're just watching a train. Or the real exciting one, the fireplace. It's 3 hours long, and it's just a fireplace. It's
Yeah.
nothing
Well,
else.
see, that stuff sounds like soundscapes, which I do listen to soundscapes. But when I listen to them, when I lay down at night to actually go to sleep. That's when I listen to them. And I listen to them every night. And so I listen to trains, and I listen to fireplaces, and I listen to thunderstorms, and I listen to wind chimes. All things that I enjoy and they're peaceful, that I intend to go to sleep to. When I go to a movie, I'm hoping I don't go to sleep in it. I am praying I don't go to sleep in it.
All right. So how's the Lord of the Rings related to this? So okay, in the Lord of the Rings, there is a very wicked, very vile character called Bilbo. And I'm not Bilbo. Oh, good grief! Those of you that are those that are Lord of the Ring fans, you have just gone crazy. It's not Bilbo. Bilbo's the beloved character. It is Gollum, and Gollum is a pitiful little creature, a little nasty creature, and at one point, um, the main character Frodo says, "What a pity that Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had a chance." And Gandalf the wise says, "Pity. It was pity that stayed his hand, pity and mercy, not to strike without need. And he has been well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he looks so little hurt from the evil and escaped from the end because he showed pity on Gollum." But Gandalf will go on to say, perhaps, uh, perhaps Gollum will play an important role in this story yet. And the idea is that this character that seems expendable, that seems, in fact, it even seems desirable that he not be around, that somehow Providence, God, will use this pitiful little creature to play an important role in the story. Um, and the idea, and I'm tying that to the idea here that God has made all things for a purpose. And I think what Proverbs is saying, I don't think it's saying that God has created some people for nothing else other than to throw them in hell, and that'll bring glory to Him. And which, by the way, I guess next time it's my turn to lead, we're going to be talking about hell, right? But that even the most wicked, the most useless, the most unvaluable people that we at least evaluate that way have some purpose in the mind of God. That there's actually a redemptive purpose, even in the wicked, and that doesn't mean that them doing wicked things is good, or that that's within God's will, or that that's within God's plan. Only that having even done things that way, maybe lived in a way that was not redemptively good, God can still use it for His redemptive purposes. That nobody is so far beyond the reach of grace that God cannot use them in some way to bring about good.
I'm just letting all that sink in a minute. Here's the thing: we're on a podcast in which we have a limited amount of time to discuss things that are supposedly not too deep or 2 feet deep. um, and this is one of those that we could discuss a while and go into the depth of how God might use the wicked for good, yet still they be destroyed. Because that's kind of what you're saying, that maybe the passage is saying, even within their wickedness, which they will have their day of destruction because they are wicked, that can still be used for a purpose that is redemptive and good. Am I misinterpreting that, or is that pretty accurate to like what you're trying to flesh out?
Woo! Well, I think it is. Man, you said it in a lot clearer way than I was saying it. I think I was probably thinking, though I think everything you just said is absolutely right. I was thinking about you know, how we evaluate people and how we evaluate ourselves. Kind of go back almost to the, does my life matter if I'm not actually really unique? If I'm not the only kid in the whole world with purple hair, or I'm not really the only town in the whole world that does barbecue festival, is my town still valuable? Uh, I was thinking about kind of the flip side of that. You know, what if I've wasted my life? What if I've even done a lot of really bad things? can God bring anything good from that? And I think what I was thinking is just a really simple yes. Yes, God can still even do something good with a life that's been really squandered and wasted. Now that doesn't take away from the sadness of a life squandered and wasted, but I think it does say that every human being, that there is still some possibility there, right?
Right. Yeah. Whew, that's one you could sit and think about for a while. That's good stuff. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
All right.
sometimes I hate that we limit ourselves because I feel like there could be really a whole lot of more good in depth conversation from that. But yeah, we got to keep
Yeah.
moving. So take us on.
All right. His name, News Game.
His name News Game.
Yeah. So okay, this one may get dangerously close to being the top of the banana. Uh,
Uh oh. Uh oh.
yeah, you may go. Wait a minute. I thought you were going to give me something. Okay,
Yeah.
so check this out. Inspiring. This is from People magazine. 104-year-old woman dies 1 week after becoming the oldest skydiver. 104 years old.
So she went skydiving at 104, and a week later she died.
Yeah. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. She had been the oldest person to skydive many years consecutively. So after her husband died when she was 84, she decided to start skydiving. I don't know at what birth age she became the oldest person to ever have done that, but she had several birthdays in which, Dorothy, yay, you're the oldest person to ever skydive. Again, because she had
Again.
turned a year older. So I don't know. I think maybe at 100 she was the oldest person to ever done it. So she got to consecutively be the oldest skydiver like 5 times in a row.
um
I,
Well, hey, I mean, like, listen, if you've got, look, if you can be the something of something, then why not be it as long as you can be it, right? I mean, if you can be the tallest guy in the world for as long as you can be it, then why not be it, right?
Although I was trying to think, how would you increase that every year? I mean, hey, are you wearing
Well, I mean, like,
platform shoes here?
well, I know, but I mean, really, she's not increasing her feet every year. She happens to be just living another year. Obviously, the moment she died, that was she wouldn't go reach that record anymore. Uh, my question, and I'm looking, I'm in the process of tying this into a scripture, but my you may not know the answer to this because it's probably not in the article, but like, if she was a week out from dying, was she like on her deathbed and she was like, oh wait, I've just had a birthday, I need to get my skydive in before I kick it.
Unhook the tubes, Clarence. I'm going skydiving.
That's so I don't,
I think she was in pretty good health for a 104-year-old person. I think she just happened to die. I mean, it was going to happen at some birthday, right? So, no, I think she was actually in pretty good health.
Okay. Well, that I don't know. Well, then there was do you know if did the skydive have any adverse
No, no,
uh,
no. She just
effects on
died
her body?
unrelated. Yeah.
Okay.
But it does remind me. We had a church member here. He lived to like 102, 103 years old, and he went to buy a car, and they told him, "Yeah, it's going to have to be cash." We're not-
That's hilarious. Look, we're not sure you're going to be here to complete the loan, so you certainly can buy the car if you buy it all right now. That had to have felt great.
yeah.
So I got a couple passages here that I'm going to throw out. 2 Timothy 1:7 is a good familiar one. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self control. So I guess that she was living into that Not having fear going skydiving at 104. I know people that won't go skydiving at any point in their life, much less to be at 104. You've got to assume that even if in your good health, you're still frail. There's still, you know, your body doesn't work quite like it used to. So, not having a spirit of fear, but living into that spirit of power. Kudos to her. Um, Here's Psalms 90 verse 12 is one that also says, so teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And on that one I would say, you know, did she do a good job of learning to number her days and understanding what she was capable of for as long as she was capable? The point I want to pull from both of those passages is I think that we are in some ways intended to live life to the fullest, to enjoy what life God has given us here. And, her enjoyment didn't threaten her ability to live. It didn't threaten her health. We know that skydiving is in general safe. There's a lot more people that complete skydiving than have ever died from skydiving. And obviously, she enjoyed doing this. And so, kudos to her for living her life to the fullest, understanding that her days were numbered and still living them within wisdom and living them within power and living them with joy. That's the
Good
best I
job,
can
Derek.
do.
Yay, brother. Dude, that's great. I didn't. I honestly, I just read the story and go, I don't know what he's gonna get from this. So,
Well, when you first read it, I wasn't sure either.
yeah, good job, man. Good job. Yay. All right, so it is time for eschatological AI. Yay. So we talk about things.
Awesome.
We talk about technology and how it may shape the future, maybe bring the future to an end, right? Or bring it to a conclusion. And today we're dealing with really kind of an interesting. So I'm gonna set this one up. Do you remember when barcodes first came out in the 1980s, or when they started really being widely used? One of the fears that surrounded barcodes.
I don't. Again, in the 80s, I was 2 to 12 through the
Oh, you were
1980s.
2 years old. Why weren't
You
you reading the news at 2 years old, Derek?
Well, and even though I could read it at 12, I certainly wasn't, because what 12-year-old cares a whole lot about barcodes or anything that's happening in the news. So, the 80s were, like I said, I remember a lot of the 80s, but a lot of it is more movie and musical, just because of the upbringing that I was in, as as opposed to much of anything in the news per se.
So, Christian fundamentalists, a number of them, I remember 700 Club and others saying that barcodes might be eventually used to be the mark of the beast. And the passage, there's a passage in the book of Revelation talks about the Great Babylon, and the Great Babylon is ruled by this beast, and this beast compels people to behave in certain ways in order to participate in the economic system, and they take upon themselves the mark of the beast, which is one of the most interesting, fascinating, and confusing passages in all of the Bible. Literally, they have the number 666, or a variation of it, 616, tattooed on their forehead or their palm. And for centuries, Christians have speculated on what the heck does that mean.
Right. Well, there's a Revelations 14 9 through 10 that says, then another angel, a third one, followed me, them saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of wrath of God, which is mixed in full strength in the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and the presence. So, and there's multiple verses here. While you were going through the opening of this, I just looked up Bible passages about the mark of the beast. And of course, they're all in Revelations, but there's, lots of them here that reference this idea of taking a mark on the forehead or on the hand, the right hand specifically. This is not the first concern, though, of Mark of the Beast as far as barcodes go. Because do you know of another number that we were all given that started long before that, that people were concerned would eventually become the Mark of the Beast?
Could it be the Social Security number?
Yes, the Social Security number, which I
Oh,
think Social
yeah.
Security began back in 1935 ish, around there, I think. Uh, and I knew that that was something people had a concern of way back when. I did a little research on this story when I saw it, and not only was it a concern then, apparently it's still a concern today as the latest Supreme Court potential hearing, which means it actually never made it to the Supreme Court because it was actually denied. But someone was concerned about their social security number being the mark of the beast as early or as recent as 2021. That's 2 years
Yeah.
ago. That somebody was still trying to bring social security numbers to the Supreme Court, saying this is a mark of the beast, and I will not have it identified to me. Even though, to my knowledge, I've never had that stuck on my right hand or my forehead.
Yeah. I think at the Cordova Social Security office, they offer it as an option. So if you're ever interested in having that, just
And they tattoo it, right, so it can't be removed.
right, just
You
yeah,
can just walk
it's a
around.
work. Yeah, it's a work from release program for the prisoners. He'll also put a little tear by your eye too.
Oh gosh.
Very classy. It's a
Here, however, I do think, of course, as soon as people are going to hear the actual article, because you've yet to mention the article, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but this article, as soon as you hear it, you immediately, it's the first thing that comes to mind in your Christian thoughts, is the first thing that comes to mind. So go ahead.
all right.
Unleash the beast. Let the cat out of the
All right.
bag.
So this one coming to us from Science Technology video on YouTube, and it's palm scanning coming to a pay venue near you. And so the idea is there's no mark at all put on your palm. Your palm already, like your retina and like your isolated fingertips, has a unique print that is not identical to anyone else's. That can be used to be what you scan on your way out buying a Pepsi Cola or whatever on your way out of the shopping mart or at the ball game or whatever, that you simply put your hand up, it scans your palm, and if it's linked to something like PayPal or your checking account or something, you just pay with palm identification.
Yeah, that I mean, like when you say, "Look, you're going to start paying with the palm of your hand," and you read in Scripture, where was it that Revelations 13:17, and he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one who has the mark, either with the name of the beast or his number and his name, of course, which we know goes where? On the palm of the hand or, the head. And then you start seeing people using that. People will make those connections. And I can see where
Yeah,
people would be freaked out. You know, uh, I don't
yeah,
personally think that this has anything to do with the uh, mark of the beast, personally. 'Cause I don't think Amazon is the Antichrist. If
well,
Amazon's the Antichrist, we're all
right,
already in trouble.
right. And if they are, see, I think there's something obviously missing altogether here. Is that they're not putting anything at all on your palm. It
Right,
already
right.
is unique. There
Yeah,
is nothing
they're reading what God put on your palm.
exactly. Right, exactly. The only thing that's already here, the only mark that's already here, God Himself put on there. So it's not there's nothing whatsoever being put on there. It's really fascinating that what this technology could mean, because it could mean that really your need to carry photo ID, bank card, whatever, could be completely eliminated. That you could walk around and be able to just access your pay account in the way you would a debit card, and you don't have to carry anything. I think that's a
So,
fascinating.
oh, it's completely fascinating, no doubt. It's also a little now. There is a scary side to it because right now this is being produced by Amazon. I don't know if we said that. It already is in existence in multiple. What was it? Whole food stores. So it's already in use in places in the United States, and apparently they're going to be everywhere before we know it, according to this video, at least from what I watched of it. The concern is, though, you know, what is Amazon tracking? And is there some privacy issues that come up? I would certainly think that there could be. Now, apparently, they're not even reading, as that's weird to say, reading your palm, because that makes it sound like a psychic or something. They're not even scanning the surface of your palm. From what I understand, it reads the veins within your palm, and I was like, wow, I never even considered we would be throwing machines over there that would read veins. Uh, but I do think there's, on some level, there's got to be concerns of right now. Well, I don't know. I mean, you would think there's got to be some privacy concerns.
Well, I would definitely think it'd be a lot harder to change your palm print than a password if it gets broken.
That's true.
Uh,
Yeah, that's true.
your security's been compromised over here at Amazon. We're gonna have to chop your hands off.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to burn portions of your hands so that it will create a new palm image.
Painful skin surgery. Don't worry. It's complimentary.
I I do think that's a big concern because what we have learned is anything that we create uh, can be faked. And granted, now we didn't create our palm, but people have already tried to. I mean, have they not tried to fake fingerprints and thumbprints in the past? I mean, we try to fake facial ID.
Yep.
Every movie in Hollywood puts out, that all you got to do is just rip someone's eye out, and then you can scan your that eye anywhere you go.
You
That's
hire a
all it
thief. Just
takes.
got a big bag of eyeballs.
No, no, no. I need the green one. The green one.
Hold on. Dry it out.
uh, I mean, we
uh,
obviously we joke and we laugh about it, but I think it's fascinating. Again, it's kind of this is one of those segments where we always talk because we just dream and we have no idea what the eventual outcome of any of these uses of technology will be, how legal they will be, whether they'll actually remain something in use or be taken off the market or whatever because of whatever. But I do think it's fascinating to think, man, what would the implications of that be? If it's something, I guess for me, I begin to think, okay, so they can read the inner palm, but there's also chip technology that people are already being used that you can have inserted, that you can scan your palm that has a chip in it that will give your entire medical history so that doctors can understand, may potentially what's going on with where you've been. And then, you're like, okay, so in terms of the scare of the mark of the beast, is this something that could ever develop into that? Do you think with the chip under the skin and the palm reading in the right hand, or when you read those passages in Revelations, do we interpret that to be literal? Will we have to literally go forward to actually consciously take that mark of the beast? And in what manner would that look like if it's not some kind of tech?
Are you raising that as a rhetorical question? You actually asking me?
I mean, yes.
Yes,
How about that?
I'm watching
It's
you and
but
going.
it's.
I mean,
I would love to hear your thoughts that will not answer the question.
exactly. Yeah, I'm watching you raising it, and right now. My experience is I'm watching Professor Derek Markgraf, pontificating and thinking and doing philosophy, and I'm just, in my mind, I'm not developing answers. I'm just listening to you. I'm just watching. Oh, those are some good questions. Man, it'd be great if you had a partner on that show to answer them.
What man? If he had somebody to share thoughts with, that'd be great.
I don't know, Derek. Those are really hard questions, man.
Those are hard.
Um, yeah, those are hard. I mean, when we're doing the eschatological AI, I'm always thinking, okay, if this is anything we read about, current technology, right? So even though you're not doing this very much yet, if they're already doing a story, it's not long before you go to the ball game and you're buying your popcorn or whatever using this palm scan technology. So what I'm always thinking whenever we do these, I'm actually thinking, okay, so what's next? Because if it's already a news story, that means that it's already ready to start being rolled out in some kind of way. So I'm thinking about those next steps. What happens after that? What develops as a result? And you mentioned privacy. I think that's one I really want to run down. The others, I don't know, but I'll run down the privacy one with you. So we already know that they've amassed a lot of data on every one of us, every single one of us. The things we watch on the internet, the phone calls we've made, the television shows we've watched, the things that we've bought on Amazon. There is a big file on all of us. We know that the government knows just tremendous amounts about us. And so now they're going to add some bio data to that, the unique print of our hand. Great. I mean, what's left for privacy? I see the ever shrinking uh, arena of personal privacy just diminishing to non-existence.
Well, let me ask, and this is me asking because I don't remember at the birth of my own children. I certainly don't remember at the birth of myself. But do they not take feet and handprints when we're born in the
Yeah,
hospital? And if so, what purpose does that serve? It's a certificate of birth that has to be registered because at that time your name gets registered and a social security number now is identified to you. Do I guess my question is we know that those fingerprints may enlarge, but they don't change. What what how is this causing less privacy than what is already on record?
yeah, that's a good question. It is a good question, but I think in my mind it's the depths of what they know about you now. So I understand that in some states they now take a core sample of your stem cells, or at least that was an idea being debated, and so now you have perhaps in some states a DNA identity, right? So. I don't know. Just at some level, you just wonder what's left of the autonomous self, or if there is anything left of the autonomous self. We
I
just
agree.
yeah, well, but this one should make an eschatological AI at some point. But MIT is working on the smallest drone in the world, and right now it can't even really fly more than a few inches. But the thing is a, a little smaller or about the same size as a bumblebee, and right now that thing cannot go very far. It doesn't have the ability to withstand wind and other things. But the video on that was that at some point they're going to succeed. They're going to create a drone so small that literally there's nowhere left that you can really assume is private. Well, that's a fun one, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that one's terrifying.
Yeah.
But
So
we say those things, but like a lot of us have Google Nests and Alexas in our house from Amazon that limits privacy. They're continually listening to us. In my opinion, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think you would probably think too far off. Is we carry a device on us that can be listened to us at any time, accessed at any time,
yes.
to listen and know exactly our location and what we're talking about, whether it's quote unquote on or not. Uh,
Oh, I
some of
definitely
these,
believe that. I believe that we've willingly surrendered privacy. We've willingly surrendered it, and I don't know what the
a lot
implications
of
of
it.
that are. Yeah, yeah. There's
Hmm.
very little of our life that is private, and I don't know what that means. It seems like a Black Mirror episode, doesn't it? But
Oh yeah.
uh, for those that don't know that reference, Black Mirror, the Netflix television show, it takes place only between 10 and 15 years from now in the future. But they explore the implications of technologies that are rolling out now and what they could mean. And to me, Black Mirror is the best sci-fi show maybe ever written because it doesn't look 100 years into the future. It looks like over into the next decade, and that's what makes it to me so much more disturbing and frightening. Is that they're not looking, way down the road at what my great great grandkids are going to be living under.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. That's like, hey, this is right around the corner. This could be right around the corner.
Yeah, you might
And
be
that's kind of.
this. Yep. All right. Well, that might be a wrap.
Once again, we want to thank all of our listeners for joining us today on 2 Feet Deep. If you would like to reach out with any questions or thoughts, please email us at 2feetdeeppodcast@gmail.com. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and we'll see you next time.